Hello, you're listening to Abstract AF and I'm Sneha Jaswal. In this episode, we're going to list 25 ways in which the 2021 Netflix series Sweet Tooth is different from the comic series it is based on. The basic premise in both the series and the comic books is pretty much the same. It's a post-apocalyptic future where a lot of humankind has been wiped out by a deadly virus and people have started giving birth to hybrid children, half animal and half human. Now, these children haven't found acceptance in the New World Order and are usually hunted down and packed off to labs for research in the hopes of finding a cure to the virus. Because nobody is sure of what came first, the virus or the hybrids. And the hero is a little boy called Gus, also known as Sweet Tooth, a hybrid child who was raised by his father away from the world. The comic series was written and illustrated by Jeff Lemire, and now let's just start off with the 25 differences. Number 1. This is a very basic difference that one can just tell from looking at the poster for the series and the cover image of the comic book. While the series is largely sweet, sunny, and very family friendly, the comics are way darker and not meant for very young readers. Number 2. In the series, we get a nice glimpse into how Gus is raised by his father. There are some adorable father-son moments on the show. No such things in the comics. Number 3. Gus's father is already sick from the mysterious virus at the beginning of the comics, unlike the series where we first see him as a healthy man writing books and building a world for his little boy. Number 4. Another thing that stands out about Gus's father in the comics is the fact that he's very religious, almost fanatically so. He's constantly praying and seems like a madman. It's not the case in the live action show, and thank God for that. Number 5. The F word is generously used in the comics, so a lot of fucks given in Jeff Lemire's world. In the series, you almost never hear an expletive, except for once while one of the main characters is facing the baddies. Number 6. Okay, now here is a big crucial difference. In the series, after Gus's father dies due to the virus, Gus is forced to live a year by himself in their house in the woods. Eventually, the boy is discovered by hybrid poachers and is saved from their clutches by a man named Jeopard. Now, Jeopard in the series is played by a black actor. However, in the comics, Jeopard is as white gets, unlike the black representation of a major character in the show. Moving on to number 7. Now, this guy Jeopard in the show leaves Gus alone, but it's the little boy who decides to follow him out of the woods. However, in the comics, Jeopard straight up offers to take Sweet Tooth to a place called the Preserve, which is supposed to be a safe haven for hybrid kids like him. Number 8. So in the comic books, Jep and Gus head to Colorado because the preserve is supposedly located there. Unlike the show where Gus badly wants to go to Colorado because his mother might be there. Number 9. So while in the show, Gus's mother is said to be alive, in the comics, his father tells him that she is dead and buried. Number 10. Now, this might seem like a very minor difference, but in the show, Gus's father gifts him a slingshot as a birthday gift. And it was a very sweet, sentimental scene. None of that in the comics. Number 11. Now, since in the comics, it's Jeopard who's keen on taking Sweet Tooth to the preserve, we get none of the low-key humorous scenes from the show. Because in the Netflix adaptation, Jeopard wants nothing to do with the kid and is constantly trying to get rid of him in harmless ways that serves as comic relief. Number 12. Speaking of comic relief, there is close to zero humor in Jeff Lemire's work. So Jeopard and Gus's adventures are much darker in the comic books. For example, in the comics, the duo runs into a sex racket and Jeopard kills the pimp who's exploiting some really sorry-looking women. Number 13. Again, a very small difference, but Jep and Gus have a horse to travel around in the books. But they're on the foot in the show, which gives them more scope to interact and build a certain bond. Number 14. Okay, here comes a very big difference and spoiler. You can pause and stop here if you want to read the comics because from here on, all the differences are pretty much big spoilers. So difference number 14 is the fact that in the comics, Jeopard simply hands over Gus to Abbott, the villain. In the show, Jeopard doesn't do something as evil. Number 15. So Jeopard has a really fucked up backstory in the comics. He and his wife survive alone for the first 5 years of the virus breakout. Then they are lured and captured by Abbott's men, the main villain, because they plan to take her baby away and do experiments on it. Number 16. While in the show we don't know what exactly happens to Jep's wife and kid, we are given hope that they might be alive. In the comics, it's explicitly mentioned that Jep's wife dies during labor. Number 17. In the comics, Jep had struck a deal with Abbott to bring him a hybrid child in exchange of his wife's mortal remains, which is why he terribly betrays little Sweet Tooth. Number 18. Another big deviation from the comics is the fact that a safe haven for hybrid children does exist in the show. And we have a whole nice side story of a woman raising a hybrid half-pig child and rescuing a lot of other half-human children.
Jumping up and down the floor. My head is an animal. And once there was an animal. It had a son that mowed the lawn.
Number 19. Due to Jep's betrayal of Sweet Tooth's trust, Gus loses all faith in regular human beings and becomes a lot more cynical. But in the show, Sweet Tooth is a ball of optimism, hope, and happiness. Number 20. Piggy, who is called Wendy, has a darker background story in the comics. Her mother is captured by bad men and goes through some pretty bad shit. Number 21. There is no lively band of teenage children in the comics that form a group called the Animal Army to rescue hybrid kids. Instead, we see a bizarre cult that wears animal masks and they are pretty evil. Number 22. Now, this is a related difference. Since there is no merry band of animal army that likes to protect hybrid kids, a major character from the show is not in the comics at all, that of Bear, the teen girl who leads the animal army. Instead, we have a very creepy dude who leads the cult and treats his own hybrid kids like rabid dogs. Number 23. Okay, again, this might seem like a minor difference, but it's what makes the show visually stand out more versus the comics. In the show, we have gorgeous forest landscapes and open spaces. There is none of that in the comics. It's very dark, bleak, and gloomy. Number 24. Dr. Singh, one of the main characters in the show, who we are told might be able to find a cure for the deadly virus, doesn't get that much space in the comics. There is no background story to him, unlike the show where he has a wife who is also suffering from the virus, and which is why he's desperate to find a cure. Number 25. The thing is, we can go on and on about the differences, but I'll pretty much wrap it up at point number 25 because a lot of the remaining comic material that I haven't mentioned until now may be used in season 2 of the Netflix series. So for the last difference, let's just say while the comics has the potential to mess with your head and leave you with nightmares, the live action series leaves you with a heartwarming cliffhanger. Well, those were the 25 differences between the comics and the show. That's all for this episode. Talk to you in the next one.